this is one of those things you never want to have to film. But we just got a low coolant warning. We just had all of our coolant system redone before we hit the road a year ago. And I come outside and find this. Coolant pouring out the back of the motorhome. And I don't know where it's coming from. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. Well, we figured out the problem. It's right there. That guy right there is the water pump. And the water is spewing out the back of that pulley and down on the ground as fast as you can put it in. So, we've got the motorcycle down so we could even open the engine bay. Jeep unhooked and got all the coolant off the windshield so I can actually see. And now I'm on an hour and a half drive to the closest Cummins dealer that had a water pump in stock. And pick that up, and then an hour and a half drive back. Should be able to get the water pump fixed on the side of the road here, because none of the shops that are around even had any availability for the next month, even emergency wise. All of their hoists are full, so I get to just do it myself on the side of the road. Fun. Well, at least it's 3 hours of really boring terrain. I mean, I wouldn't want to have had to drive back through anything awesome while doing something not awesome. Alright, back to driving. Well, an hour and a half later, made it here to Central Truck and Diesel. They got the water pump in stock, and $200 later, which actually isn't as bad as I was expecting, we're gonna make our way back to the rig and repair this on the side of the road. Well, we're in a little pull off, but basically doing it in the dirt on the side of the road. Yep, still boring. Alright, made it back to the motorhome with all the parts. Yay! It's a hot one today. It's 94 degrees, so it's going to be a nice sweaty job crawling up under there and breaking free 26-year-old bolts. There's only 3 of them. Got to undo a belt and 3 bolts, and it should pop out and pop a new one in, but it always sounds easy before you actually have to do it. And first things first is we need to get the belt off, and there's a tensioner pulley up here. Got a longer breaker bar and the step down from 1/2 inch to 3/8, and there's a 3/8 square in it, so let's see how easily. Okay. Too terribly hard. Get that taken care of. So now, step 1 done, belt off. And next steps is just 3 bolts. Accessing them in this tiny engine bay opening here is going to be the biggest problem. Just trying to get in and get on the bolts. Try to break them free with a breaker bar and then impact them out so I can have a little feel on them to see if they're going to want to be coming out or not. Well, it turns out they're a 13 mil, which is weird. Oh man, that was super easy. I like the results there. Oh man, super easy. Can we go 3 for 3? Oh, it's a way smaller one. Alright. It's also a bracket for the alternator. Is that going to be a little 10 mil? Sure enough, 10 mil. And the 10 mil is going to be a pain in the butt. Did it turn, or is it just stripping on the head? Let's see what we can do. Getting the other 2 out. One bolt free. Two bolts free. Come on, baby. TB blaster. The biggest problem is just trying to get pressure held against it while I attempt to twist it off. bottom alternator bolt has a bracket attached to it, and that bracket attached over to the last water pump bolt. And so I was able to take the alternator bracket free and kind of give it a twist down, which hopefully did a little something to the stuckness of said bolt. It may allow me to now get a turn on it now that it has a little bit of play around it. Maybe it's freed up some of the rust that was holding it in place. Well, there's the stupid bracket. I got it flipped down, but it just moves and the bolt stays in the same spot. So more penetrating oil, maybe some fire, see what we can do to try to get that bolt to move, because I can't afford to snap it. I have to get it to loosen up, but it's starting to mess with the head, and that's making life very difficult. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Well, I was unsuccessful with all of my attempts for 5 hours trying to get that stupid bolt off the bottom, so had to call in the big guns. Weld Pro, mobile welding service. They're gonna weld on a bigger nut onto the head of that bolt so that I can get a large socket on there and try to take it out. Hopefully not break the bolt. If not, they'll still be here and I can have them weld a nut onto the broken bolt, or I'll have to get my extraction tool out and try to get it out that way. But we're hoping for the best with just welding the bolt, or welding the nut onto the head of the bolt. So we'll see how it goes. Well, we got a nut welded on to the bolt and got a turn on it, and it snapped the head right off like we thought it was going to. And that allowed us though to get the water pump off, and we had access to the threads, and we could heat those up with a torch, set some wax into the threads, then weld another nut onto the stud that was left out. From there, worked it forward, backward a little bit, and finally got it to break free, and now we're in business. So this is where we were able to get a nut welded onto the head of the bolt, and that snapped off. Then we got the bracket and the water pump off, and there was still this much stud showing outside of it. We got all these threads are good. It was right at the outside collar that was rusted up, but got a nut welded on to the rest of the stud after a bunch of heating and wax penetration, and got that out. So it came out in 2 pieces, but we're back on the road. Well, 23-minute drive to town for a 79-cent bolt, and we should be back in business. I need to file down the face because it is super rusty from where the water had been affecting it, but I'm gonna have to file down the face so that the O-ring on the new pump has a good spot to sit nice and flat and seal. So I will get to work on that, and hopefully we'll just be slapping the pump on, filling her up, and good to go on our way. And now we get to try to put the new one in. I would have liked to chase the threads with a tap, but couldn't find the M8x125 tap. They only had M8x1 tap, so I ran the good bolt down in and back a couple times by hand, and it seems like it should be good. So here goes nothing. Alright, bolt number 1 started. So bolt number 2. Also have to remember to put the little alternator bracket on as we put this on as well. As stuck as that thing was, it sure is going back in just fine. So the old pump is here. Visually it doesn't look too bad, but the 2 bolts that were good and easy to get out were right there, and you can see this is really rusted. On the new pump they've got a slot design here that almost makes me believe that they know water comes out at some point and weeps onto that bolt, so they've got a redirect, and then it doesn't have this housing, it's just got open fins now. But this is let's see if I can set the camera down some way somehow to... She's blown out. belt back on. When you get your coolant, you're going to want to make sure to pay attention to if it's pre-mixed or not. 50-50. So I got the last 3 gallons they had of pre-mixed, because I have no idea how much this takes, and then a gallon of not pre-mixed, which would be equal to 2 more gallons of mixed. So we'll start with the pre-mix first. Alright, I got Allie in the front. She's going to fire the engine up so I can watch and see what's happening. Got the walkie-talkie so I can yell if I need to tell her to shut it off. Alright, go for it. She's going to let it cycle, do its little thing, and fire it up. Well, I'd say that that's a success. We may grab some more coolant on our way through the next town we pass through so I can top it off, but I added 5 gallons in there, so we should be all right to at least get the next town. Job finally done.